Welcome back to 10 Foot Customs, and happy Thanksgiving 2022. I just have a couple hours here before we go to my in-laws' house to go get some amazing food, and I figured I would attempt to get Ruby's steering put back together. I don't even think it was the last episode when I got the steering box finally swapped over. I realized that the spline count in the steering box I put in and the spline count on the steering box I took out are different. Not 100% sure why, but they are. So what I picked up online was this universal joint. It'll replace the kind of weird joint that comes with the Jeeps. And this has the correct spline count, or should I haven't checked yet. This should have the correct spline count on the steering box input shaft, and then this has got the 3/4 double D. So the two options are this is a 3/4 30, and I think there's a 13/16 36 spline. So this is supposedly 3/4 30 spline, and then the shaft itself is a 3/4 double D. So we'll climb underneath here and see if we can get steering put back into Ruby. Just climbing underneath Ruby here, and I noticed this. I haven't been out here in a while since I put the radiator in, and it looks like we have a leak. And oh, where is it at? Oh, right there. Oh. Why that's leaking, I do not know. I'm gonna have to double check my clamp is tight. That's not good at all. And then I noticed these fittings that I put in here. Yeah, you can't see them, but the fittings are leaking, which I thought I had those super tight. So I'm gonna have to check both of those and see why I've got 2 leaks here. This has got to be a bad clamp seal, I'm assuming. I'm gonna have to double check that though. Okay, we're not gonna worry about that leak. That is hopefully just to tighten and be good. We are going to get the steering hook back up today. This has been disconnected for a little bit. This is hopefully the piece we will be replacing with this, I hope. Oof. I'm hoping I have enough. I may have to cut and lengthen this because this is not, it's close to the same size, but it's not the same size. And that double D runs up all the way up to here. We may be okay. We may be okay. So what the plan is, put this on, connect this to the steering box, put my steering column back in, because right now it's just sitting on the driver's seat. Get that bolted in. And then I will slide. I should have replaced one of these too, but it's fine right now. I will reinstall this to the steering column, and then I'll see how much of this I need. This is all rubber, so this will all come off, and I should hopefully have enough length here to make this work. And then I can, scribe a line, cut it, and then this gets bolted on with a through bolt, and this gets put on, and then there's a bolt that tightens into the spline. Well, there's a groove in the spline that this is going to go into to allow this not to come loose. So let's give it a shot. It's not super crazy cold today, but it is, I don't know, upper 30s right now. So it's not warm either, but there's like no wind, which is kind of helping. This has got some adjustment in it too, so that might help. If I need a little bit more play, I can have the column all the way back. Okay, so the column currently is set all the way toward the firewall on the adjusters that are underneath there. So it gives you probably 3/4 of an inch of adjustment. So hopefully that's enough for what we need. Okay, so this is what we need to get lined up. Take the set screw out. And see if the spline count is correct. There is a flat there. I don't know. This doesn't have a flat on it. But I'm going to try to line the flat up with this. It looks like it might be sliding on. Yeah, this is going to slide right on there. And it really doesn't matter. The flat is not, doesn't seem to be that important. So I'm going to make sure I can make sure that my spline lock goes on. Tap it with a hammer. Okay, that is all the way in. Let's get our set screw. Okay, that should be, yep, don't have the jam nut tight, so that should be tight into the groove in the shaft. You can put the, that is just dripping, dripping, dripping. I need to tighten. But yeah, we can get this lined up and see how much shaft you can cut off. I want it, if I can, I want it to be almost sticking out or flush with the end of this universal joint, to make sure it's got a good bite. But let's see what we've got. Working out here in the sunshine, it is like 7 degrees warmer. It feels so much better. I'm going to clean off all of the crud on this, knowing that I'm not going to be using any of this anymore. Probably just cut the end of this off. Okay, with this all cleaned off, I know I've got to about here as what I can use. I mean, I guess I could always, it's a solid rod. If I had to, I can make it, I can make it more longer. But let's see if we need to. Put this back in. Oh, the steering wheel. It's not straight at all. Let's straighten that up a little bit. We'll get keys. Steering wheel straight. This put back on. Don't think it matters how it splines on currently if to make our cut. I don't think it's there. Oh, it does. There is a notch in the spline as well to line this up. Steering shaft bolted in up at the top. Now the moment of truth. Do we have enough here to make the connection? Whew, we do not. If I cut this off, and I flatten this myself, it will be really, really close. And I can do that, or I can put a section of lengthened, put a piece of tubing around this and weld it. I don't know what's easier, honestly. Cutting and grinding requires no welding. I guess worst case scenario, I could try to cut and grind and get this double D longer, and if it doesn't work, I'm not out anything other than having to cut it anyway right here. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to try to make this into make this entire length a double D and see if that works. So, I mean, actually, if I only got to go right to here, just behind this. So we'll try it. It's Thanksgiving, and I do not want to have a Thanksgiving trip to the ER, so face shield. This has to come out. So it took a straight edge and kind of extended out, just ran it along these edges and extended the lines of this out. So I know kind of when I get down to these marks, I should be close to the same size as this. I'll take my calipers too and mark them as I go and try to make sure I'm really close to this. Well, I think that was definitely the right choice to do. It was not difficult to turn that into a finish out the length of that tubing. Now, again, I don't know if it's perfect or not. I'm gonna have to pull that universal joint back off. Put down there. It's hot, but it feels pretty square. But I might have to adjust it a little bit once I get the universal joint off. But if that worked, then what I'll do is I'll pull the steering column back out again, hook this back up, refeed this back down into the universal joint to get everything lined back up again, mark it, drill it, and then I can put the bolt through it. And then we should be okay. So let me get the universal joint back off and we'll test fit it onto this end now. Universal joint is off. Oh man, it's got a hair bit of play, but holy cow, I couldn't have done that better if I tried. Wow, it's still very warm. Ow. Yeah, I mean, it probably gets a little tighter if I slid down on the, but that's gonna do very well. Okay, so I was going to put this all back in there, mark for my hole, drill it, put it all back together, and I'll have it done. My thought is if I err on the side of a little bit of long, which I can do, I've got the adjustability in the steering column. If I'm too long, I've got plenty of room to pull the steering column this way. So I'm going to err on the side of slightly too long here. I got plenty of room, and mark it and just drill it and be done with this part of it. I'm sure that's going to come and bite me in the butt later, but I really want to get this done. We'll get a punch. I will punch the center on that, and we'll drill it. Well, I've drilled this hole terribly crooked, so there's that. So, but it's in there and it's tight. I'm actually threading this rod a little bit. So, what I'm going to do is put some red Loctite on it and just crank it in there until she's tight. Go, threading in. Again, this hole's very crooked, so we'll see where we get. I just don't want to snap this set screw off. But I will just snap off the bit of my Allen. So I'm going to assume that's not ever going to come out again. And okay, that's set. I'm going to tighten this up, tighten down this Allen, this set screw. Once I find another Allen, just 5/32. Oh well, it is what it is. Everything is either broken or tight, except for this one, which is now red Loctited as well. We'll go reinstall this. I don't see why this wouldn't work at all. Because it's easier to get this end onto this side, I'm going to work this side down first, and then pull the column loose again, and then hook it back up. Hopefully that will work. So I think I'm good if I kind of measure this out. I should be almost perfect with where this spline's going to line up. So I'm going to pull this back up into the cab just slightly, which I should have plenty of adjustment for. Just loosen the bolts, slide it up, get this thing lined up, and slide it back down. Let's see, that slid up. Ow, finger, that hurt. Okay, this should slide back down all the way tight. Yes, it does. Okay, that's tight on both sides. Steering wheel turns. So this is all in and tight. Steering wheel is going to be straighter, I do believe. I can always adjust the pitman arm or even turn the steering wheel on the spline if I have to. But it should be close, I think. Better than being 90 off. It was definitely 90 off before. Before I go in and clean up to go to Thanksgiving dinner, lunch, dinner, whatever it is, I am going to see if I can tighten up this hose clamp for the radiator because it's actively dripping. And then I will see if I can tighten up the hoses for the power steering pump because all that would be nice to stop the leaks underneath it. But definitely got some slop up here, but I can change that out later or not really not that concerned about it right now. It's going to be way better than it was having it nice and tight down at the bottom. So let me hit this radiator really quick. Belts are on. Tightened the clamp on the hose. I did it with a flat blade screwdriver and it wasn't that great. So hopefully using the ratchet made it tight enough. Snug down the power steering lines. Let's see what happens. Make sure we're... Oh, we are just pouring fluid out. Ay, ay, ay. So that's what's currently happening. Crankshaft. Look, there's no fan in there anymore. I don't know if this means the power steering fluid line didn't seat or what, but I think I have fixed the coolant leak. Doesn't seem to be dripping anymore. Power steering leak is now worse than before, but of course, as is with any vehicle, especially this Jeep, you never know what you're going to run into. There are obviously two different power steering boxes that can go on here, and I put in one that had a different spline count. Well, I've now found out that that different spline count steering box also has the O-ring style lines. So the ones I'm using are flares instead of O-ring style. So of course it's never going to seal. I just looked at the engine that came with this steering box, and the power steering lines are 100% O-ring style. I would just pull those lines off that engine and put them in here, but those lines are pretty cracked and bad anyway, so I'm probably just going to order up new lines and replace the lines on this power steering pump. You got to do what you got to do. So once that's done, that should solve my problem, and I should, not have a massive power steering leak down here. But what I started out to do today to make steering happen does work. Steering works, the actual shaft works fantastic and seems nice and tight. So we did accomplish something today, even if it wasn't totally getting this ready to take off the rollers again. So thank you all for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I hope everybody has a great week, and I hope you had a great Thanksgiving.